Wow. Bonjour. Thank you. What an honor you do me of coming here. So this is a writers convention. So maybe the one question I could add, thank you for coming, to my presentation would be to ask you, why do you write? Above, we talk about how, trips and techniques. Greg this morning was more into the heart of it. So maybe at the end, I can say, you think why, what's your purpose? Or the word I call is, what's your calling? What's your reason or motivation for writing? So, my name is Giard, so I'm French-Canadian, and when I was born, I looked like this. Aww. Yeah, everybody go, oh, there you go. Look at this beautiful little happy tyke. Family of four, mother, father. And then a few years later, I lost it. There was something, the smile was gone. And maybe it was my brothers bullying me all the time, I don't know. At school, I didn't know how to communicate. So I got even more bullied, and I used to play alone by myself during a recreation, one time out. And that kind of became my life, always kind of being alone. And then during lunch breaks, I would go hide, which is good for the Writers' Festival, in the library. Very small library, I would sit and I would read little comic books, Tintin, Pezzi, for some of them know you. And then suddenly, I felt like someone was looking at me. And it also had a record collection. And there was this man looking at me. And for the first time in my life, I felt somebody was smiling at me. That was something new to me. I don't know why, I just like his warm face. So I borrowed the record, I brought it home. He's a French-Canadian poet, singer-songwriter, Félix Leclerc. And I started to listen to his song. There was one song special on it, it was called Le Petit Bonheur, the little happiness. And the song was about how happiness had left him. But there was one lyric in the song that was said, now, as he is alone, as happiness has left him, when he walks down the street and he meets people coming the other way, he changes sides because he doesn't want to meet people. And when I heard that, I said, that's me. That's my life. So music became my first tool to express my feelings by finding the words of other people. Music played the first major role in my life. The second one was writing. I started journaling, and this is basically part of my journaling for the last 40, 50 years. I've always kept doing. I couldn't speak to people. I couldn't share what I was living inside, but my journal gave me a space to explore my feelings, even if I didn't know they were called feelings. I was just kind of, I don't know what to do, I don't know what I'm living, and just kind of journaling. But I have to say that journaling did save my life on the long run, because at that time I was scared of the void. My life was just an emptiness and a void because of the bullying, because that I couldn't connect with other people. I eventually became a visual artist. So in the first class, the first painting class, the teacher told us, okay, I don't know you guys, so make a painting to express who you are. I freezed up, I say, nobody ever asked me my feelings. So I just painted 3 black lines, black bars. That's all I could do. And then a few months later, we had a printmaking class. So this is a wood carving, if you know a bit the technique. And basically my unconscious, subconscious, so it's basically like a walkway. And here, défense d'afficher, which basically means no posting. And then suddenly the lines became like the fence, became like a prison. So there was something inside of me that wanted to come out, but it had no words. Music was helping me, writing was kind of finding a way out. And then something magical happened when I found clay. I don't know if some of you do sculpture or ever touched clay, but it's finally getting out of my mind in the non-verbal. And in clay, a new way of expressing myself came out, and I made this series of sculptures. They're about life-size, you could say, in concrete. And I first made the middle one. You know, I would say, okay, I'm going to do a kind of Roman, typical boss style kind of stuff. And then suddenly, as I played with it, the small-scale model that I did, because when you work with clay, you must respect it when it starts to dry. And then as I was reshaping it, this happened. And it just something inside of me said, oh, this. I had no words then, but I just kept it. And from this came then the sculpture, this series, where I am or somebody is the middle figure, and either you can go on one side, which is totally falling apart towards a kind of death, or to the other side where you're standing up. But it took me just a few years ago that I realized actually these sculptures have no arms. They have no mouths, ears, no means of expression. They're asexual, they have no sex, but what they have is an attitude. And I call this sculpture Victory. And a few years later, I won a contest for a sculpture in a park, and I call this one The Warrior. This time I do have arms. I have a little tiny head, totally tiny. Still no eyes, still no mouth, but it's like whatever soft tenderness inside me is able to function in society because I'm armored. I'm protecting myself. So I went to Europe 1984, and this is 6 feet by 9 feet, 2 meters by 3 meters. It's an oil painting. And when I went to Europe, I started to discover the Dutch artists, the portraits, and I came back to Canada, and in that school I started to do this kind of art, which was kind of revolutionary, because in those days you were doing contemporary modern art, and here I was back doing kind of portraiture. But this was also my critique of society, which is that I felt so hurt by there was so much violence in society. I thought about Nelson Mandela. Gandhi was one of my, not mentors, but image in my heart. And I felt, so, you know, there's a kind of symbolic crime murder scene happening there. And then there's somebody just watching. And in the background, it's like a movie file, cinema. So it's like, for me, okay, violence has become entertainment. And I always said that my art is a mirror for you to look at yourself. I don't care about myself. I don't want you to look at me. I make the art so that you can see yourself in it. You know, so who are you? Are you in the movie file? Are you you wouldn't be the aggressor nor the victim. So whatever is left is, you know, what are you going to do about all this violence in society? I had no words for this, so it happened like that. Then I finally studied in Europe, in Amsterdam. I lived there for 4 years. And in the streets, I found an old puppet theater. Now, those who live in Europe kind of know what this is. In America, we don't really have that tradition. And it was in the garbage. So I picked it up, and I saw that the sides were made of a baby's crib. You know, you kind of up and down. And I felt like so touched by this, but at the same time, it was in the garbage. It was thrown away. So I brought it in my studio. I kind of just made sure it stand together. I didn't repair it, just enough. And I installed it, so was in a big military caserne exhibition space. So it's a children's memory. I thought how much the father loved his children and the story they told. So in the puppet theater, I put some street organ music, the ones you find in Amsterdam, or I'm sure in Germany also, but very soft. So you need to get close. So it's like when you get close to your childhood memory, when you start to appreciate them, then suddenly they start to appear. But at the same time, it's like the attack or the child is under attack by these lamps. And you could call them the lamps of awareness. So he's stuck. The theater is kind of stuck in the corner, while there's still some hope. It's like me being in the statue. I'm protected, but inside somewhere, I'm still alive. Inside, in this theater that's been aggressed, that's been lost, there's the music, there's the poetry of the child still in there. And then, in Amsterdam, finally, my life was going well. After 2.5 years, I actually came close to suicide because of a bad relationship that went bad. But then I found that real friends do exist. I never knew that. And the real friends took care of me while I was totally down. And then for the first time, I got myself a little studio. I was always living in hiding in my studio because I was worthless, you know. Why should I have money? Why should I live somewhere? So I had a studio, I had friends, and I finally find a kind of a girlfriend because my relationship was so complicated. And then when life was finally, maybe I can come out of my shell, maybe. I went to a yoga class, and during the yoga class, at the end, when we were doing the meditation, this image memory came up. I was on the ground, and I saw my hands really like a baby, very fat, and there was this huge face going towards me, and I was fighting it. I heard somebody scream, and they were like clap, and I woke up from that, and I said, "What's this? Is this a memory? Is this?" I had no idea what to do. So my time in Amsterdam was finished. I went to see my mother, and I said, "Mom, did something happen to me when I was young?" She said, "Oh, why do you ask?" Well, I had this kind of strange, I don't know, memory from childhood. And then she said, "Oh, yeah, sure. We had a 16-year-old niece. She was taking care of the children. I had caught her masturbating you. And I just slapped her. And then I put you in your room. You were screaming. But anyway, it doesn't matter. You know, she was gone." Okay. For her, it was like we bought a fridge that summer, something like that. So I was left with the idea of, is that important? Does that matter, that experience? So I went to the bookstore, and then I bought the first book on sexual abuse. And each page was describing my life. Each page. Loneliness, suicide, and the self-hatred and stuff like that. And so I started to make an art exhibition of these works. Meanwhile, you have to earn a living, so I became a teacher. I taught art in the museum for 20 years, talking about art, talking about music. And then I had a new boss. Uh-oh, everybody say that. Uh-oh. You know the idea. The new boss was hired to cut the costs. They couldn't fire me, because luckily we were unionized. So he came to me and he said, "You know, Guy, you look very tired. You work too hard. I'll give you a nice office job, right? You're going to be sitting all day. You didn't tell me that it was half the salary, of course. You didn't mention that. Anyway, so I asked myself, I'm going to die if I do that. I work with people. I'm not about paperwork. So I quit the job. Enough. I quit the job. But after a few weeks, the good boy in me said, "Oh, what did you do? How dare you quit your job? You're such a bad boy." So I got depressed. I couldn't sleep anymore. Finally, I say, I must do something. And I tried, you start to listen to your inner voice, and something I had never done before. I said, some people get together to laugh. That's crazy. So I did. I went and I discovered laughter yoga. And it was so amazing that right at that moment I said, wow, I'm going to become a laughter yoga teacher. So a few weeks after, I got my diploma. And then I say, now I need to have more humor into my life. So I took a clown class. Yeah, for 6 days. I was so bad. I was so horrible. I cried a few times. And the last time, like the last hour of the last repetition, it was like, I look at myself and say, okay, if I'm going to fail, I'm going to be the best failure in the world. That's what I told myself. So I went on stage. I was scared. So I just played scared. I was shy. So I just kind of played shy. Every emotion which were true and honest, I played them. And then people laugh. And that lesson is that if you are yourself, you're going to succeed in life. Don't try to be other things. So I wrote to Patch Adams because I had seen the movie. I was wanting to write a book on the benefits of humor because humor basically was changing my life. So I wrote to him, and then he answered back, said, "Oh yeah, your idea of a book is super. I like it. But I'm traveling all the time. I can't meet you. You must come to meet me." Guatemala, I don't speak Spanish. I'm not a clown. I mean, I'm just me. And I'm afraid of flying. Oh, everybody said, oh. Yeah, so I went to see my therapist, and she was the first one who looked at me and said, "Guy, what do you want?" For the first time in my life, somebody was asking me, what do I want? Am I worthy enough to want something? So, from inside, it screamed out, I want to go. And I did. So, in 2014, I joined Patch Adams on the first humanitarian clown mission, which means a group of people, we go to hospitals and we go to orphanages, and we just give love. We just open ourselves. One of the experiences I got there was with this little girl, Giard. I came to an orphanage of more like 300 little screaming kids. Oh, it was so noisy. But as soon as I entered, there was this little girl who just kind of adopted me. She just came with me. I don't speak Spanish. So she helped me she was there giving out the stickers, the balloon. She was making the rules to the other kids. Keep quiet, sit down. And then the school bell rang. It was lunchtime. It was time for her to go. She started crying. She didn't want to go. So I picked her up. I tried gently to make her, I still don't speak Spanish, but with the voice, tried to calm her down. Finally, an assistant came, and they explained, okay, we're just breaking for lunch, and we'll be fine. So I let her go. She always turns back. And then when she entered the building, my heart sank. It felt like all of life's sadness just kind of went into me, and I was there was a hole opening under me, and I was just falling down. For me. I thought to myself, when this trip is finished, I can go home to my friends and family. But for her, this is it. Life stops here. And then as I was saying that and just feeling so desperate, suddenly my heart opened. And it's like a light opened, and then kind of came out to say, well, maybe I cannot change your life, but while I'm here, I'm going to give you, sorry, I'm going to give you everything I have. And at that moment, that's when I became a love clown, you know. And each trip brought me a new experience, a new opening of my heart. And when I went to Peru, this time it was different because we didn't see sick kids in hospital. We went in their village where they live with no electricity, inundation and stuff like that. But look how happy they are. There was this thunderstorm and it just wet everywhere. You know what they did? They jumped in the puddle, and they started to do this. What do you name that when it's in snow?
Snow angels.
Snow angels. They made mud angels. Oh, that was it. It's like whatever your circumstances, you can always make magic with it. So, but the magic even more is that while they were doing that, I saw all around them an 8-year-old boy holding the hand of a little 6-year-old girl, holding a little baby. Like there were little groups of people. I never had that in my family. And they were all smiling, loving, taking care of each other. And for me it came, wow. Now this is what humanity is when it's not civilized. So suddenly my link to humanity became open. First my heart became open, then my link to humanity became open. Then I went to India. I learned that leprosy is not, they don't know what it is, but it's not contagious. So I walked around and there was a woman begging in the street, so I went and bought her some fruits. And I sat with her and I prayed with her. And then I thought, when was the last time was she ever touched with love, you know? And we sang together. And finally, there was other trips, but I went to Russia. And in Russia, I was invited by a local clown, and his clowning was we would go inside families' home. So not hospitals. And we went to this family, and there was a little Kolyo, a little boy there. As you can see, he's tied to a machine. He cannot live without his machine. So we were there, we were singing, balloons, playing song and harmony, and it was wonderful. And then suddenly the machine was just like beep, 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 urgency. Both parents suddenly, they're just like, stop. And went for the dials and cleaning the little boy and whatnot. And I thought, oh my God, you know, I've just, everything I was giving them is just lost, you know. It's so sad. But actually, when we left, they just hugged us, you know. Because for a moment, for a moment, they just felt alive. They just felt the power of love, the power of presence in there. And then so I learned that sacrifice, you know, it's such a bad word in our society today. You sacrifice yourself or whatnot. But no, forget the ego, forget the I, the identity. When you open yourself and you just let love, we're kind of, I don't want to be moralistic, but we're kind of afraid that if we give love, we won't have it anymore. But it's actually the reverse. The more you give it, the more it flows, and it just flows and flows. And from this, I got many more lessons, which I call the 5 dimensions of being, which is the mind, taking care of your mind, of your heart, of your body, of your soul, and your connection with the universe. And by feeding on this, that's when you find your calling. Find your purpose. So as writers, that's what I'm asking you. Are you writing from your purpose, from your passion? And what Greg said this morning is that the more you write, the more you get closer to what is unique. And all of you are amazing. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. And that's why I wrote this book. This book is my story, which much more adventurous than I could do in this little half hour. But basically, the only reason I write the book is to send a message of hope and inspiration. I don't care about myself, but if my book can find the place to somebody who needs it, then I find I will have achieved it. Thank you. Everything was late, so I will leave the place.
Sorry.
No. If you want, I would leave the place to Karen, but if you feel you want to give me room for comments or questions.
5 minutes, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, I didn't realize.
No. I'm just conscious of your space and everybody's space. So.
Just a very quick question. You mentioned that when you were in India, you prayed with the lady that you left. How important has faith been to you? I'm not asking which faith.
No,
whatever,
that's fine.
But when did you discover it? Because has it played an important role? Because you talk about the 5 fundamental.
Yeah, and thank you. That's a wonderful question. I give workshop of 2 hours on just this concept. So, but basically, the soul is about trust, finding back trust in life. And number 5, the last one, the universe, is faith, finding faith. Now, I use the word universe. I always like to use the metaphor of the Buddhist monk who points towards the moon. And they say, look, it's so amazing. And that most people will look at the finger. And they won't look at the moon. So words, there's another expression that says the map is not the territory. So a word is the best solution we have to describe something that cannot be named, that can only be experienced. So when you talk about faith, and I totally agree with you, I personally use the word universe. You could call it God, you could call it the creator, but it's the soul is your value. It's like the phrase, you are an amazing gift, worthy. Each of us is worthy. You don't have to do anything in life. Just the fact that you're here, I mean, that's why I had tears and it's coming back again. Sorry, but just the fact that you're here, I think you are amazing. You know, I think you know that. I feel it. It's not just words in my mouth. You know, so I mean, I'm blessed to have all of you here now, and so that's you are worthy of the universe. I mean, we are all part of the creation, but use the name that you want. But the learning from the universe is faith, and faith means What faith means that you can't do it now, you don't know how to do it now, but you know that it's possible. Patch in Guatemala learned me a 3-letter word, which is now, in the sense that when I said I can't do it, and he added now. I can't do it now. So maybe it's hard to have faith, but it's hard to have faith now. We just leave it open. Just maybe one more question. I'm here for the whole time, so, and I have one more book. The 2 other one is for Michael and Pauline. Oui?
Yes, thank you. I was going to say there's a group of clowns, I think 2 clowns for Uganda, and they go to villages, just like you say.
Yeah.
Situation for these young people.
Yeah, there's clowns for Ukrainian, there's clowns in Serbia, in refugee camps and stuff like that. Of course, the last 3 years made everything so much more complicated. Before I knew laughter yoga existed, I had no idea it existed, and it's 25 years old, and it's taught in more than 100 countries around the world. And same thing with clowns. I had no idea there were clowns doing that stuff, and suddenly, just because I was attuned to it, it's like, oh, yeah. So I'll finish with it. When Lawrence invited me to come here, I said, cool, yeah, that's fun. I never thought about it. But the first thing I did, I said, clown in Ireland, clown in Ireland. And so I ended up doing a talk in Galway, doing 2 talks in a hospital here, and 1 in Belfast. And nobody asked, and I mean, I'm not getting paid, but that's not the point. You know, the point is there's so much healing and love possible. It's just like, and yeah, I wouldn't say it hurts me that people don't know it, because I just know it, so I just wanna, that's my only purpose in life. There you go, thank you.